Yeah, okay, I'll do that when we get done here. Yeah. Okay, well, listen, we'll start this right now. Are you recording? Mark, you got it?
Yeah, but I didn't hear it say recording in process.
I got a little notice saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great. Hello, everybody. Welcome here in headquarters and out in Zoom land. It's really nice to have you all here. My name is Jim Dalzo. I'm the chair of the Benzie County Democrats. And we have the chair of the Manistee County Democrats here tonight for a very, very cool thing that he's been doing down in Manistee. And he's going to come up here and share with us tonight. But before I do that, somebody told me I had to announce something before. What was that?
Yes, if they've got any questions, people
Oh,
in the
yes.
room have any questions, please put it in the chat.
We're sure there's going to be questions about all of this, so please put them in the chat if you're on Zoom, and we'll read them right off the Zoom chat. That'll cut down on the confusion and talk over quite a bit. And here, we'll just put up your hand for a question, and make sure that the mic is like this if you want to be heard. If you don't talk until you get the microphone. Thank you. Okay. So with that, would you please give a warm round of welcoming applause to John Helge. John, thank you so much for doing this. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Have at it, my friend.
Well, Jim, thank you very much. And thank you. Wow, what a crowd. I wish we could turn the camera around because there's quite a crowd. Were there this many people here for Hill Harper? I'm declaring I'm running for Senate. No, guys, this is fantastic because what we're going to talk about today is one of the greatest gifts the Republican Party could have ever given us in Project 2025. But it's been so well hidden that only up until about 3 weeks ago, only 27% of all voters knew anything about Project 2025. So we're going to talk about that, but before I do, I know that my experience in making presentations is you are all wondering, who the heck is this big ugly guy? And I got to tell you, I'm half Italian. I talk with my hands. Normally when I am giving a presentation, I am walking back and forth, and I'm sitting here now, so this is very difficult for me. But I hope that we'll get the word across. I had a 40-year professional career leading industrial technical sales teams. And we worked with industry to help them save water and energy in their operations. And it was a very satisfying career. In fact, I spent the last 15 years of my career managing my company's relationship with Nestle, the global food company. Okay? Now, do you know that Nestle sold all of their bottled water plants in North America? They no longer bottle water in North America. A company called Blue Triton does, who bought this. And what's really bad about that, folks, is Blue Triton is a venture capital firm. They don't care about anything. Nestle cared a little bit about it. And the reason they sold it was, number one, they weren't making enough money on bottled water. Number two, it was creating a public relations nightmare for Nestle. So that's, they got rid of it. But bottom line, that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about, what I've been doing and my passion. I retired in July of 2020. And after that 40-year career, and 2 weeks after I retired, I received a phone call from a woman who said, John, and I was on about the 8th hole, and my phone started lighting up with the news that Joe Biden did what I knew he would do, which is the best for all of America. And we're going to be done here so you can hear Joe talk to us at 8 o'clock tonight, okay? I promise, okay? So it's a labor of love. Organizing for me is, when you lead sales teams, it's kind of like leading volunteer groups like this, okay? And I just love it. And having a vision for where we want to be, and everybody getting on board with that is really where we are. So I hope you get on board with me in letting people know about the dangers of Project 2025. We're going to share my screen, and we're going to get going with this. Now, the other thing that I've learned in all my work is you always want to start off on a lighter note. So I'm going to start off on a little bit of a lighter note, and who better to help us do that than our friends at the Lincoln Project. Everybody familiar with the Lincoln Project? All right. How about this?
Welcome to the Trump 2024 Project 2025. This week in the horrible city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you'll see the best of the Trump Project 2025 party.
I don't know that this is what we
Vision
want.
for a bright future. With Trump Project 2025, you'll love how new tariffs will make everything more expensive and set off runaway inflation. We know you'll appreciate paying for the big tax cut our struggling billionaires need. When you
Benzie Dems, I didn't
done
see that. Oh.
freedom, check out Project 2025's plan to end Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So get out of that nursing home bed and get back to work. And ladies, this convention has so much in store for you. With Project 2025, you'll learn how good you'll have it in the kitchen. Girls, if your marriage isn't working out, you'll need Project 2025's helpful tips to keep the romance alive, even if he's abusive, because we're getting rid of divorce. And if Mr. Wrong gets you pregnant, welcome to motherhood, because we've ended Roe v. Wade and we're going to criminalize birth control. And minorities, well, you didn't need those silly voting rights anyway. For you Jews, Muslims, Mormons, and other fake religions, you'll get a head start on learning America is a Christian nation. Project 2025 is Donald Trump's plan for your future, and it couldn't be any brighter.
Project 2025 Bright Future Guarantee applies to white evangelical Christian men only. Other conditions may apply. Offer not valid in a functioning republic. Guarantee applies to white.
Your future Christian nation. Project 2025 is Donald learning Jews, Muslims. Well, you didn't need the.
Oh, Lord. Technology, ain't it wonderful? So, folks, I'm very data-driven, and I love Venn diagrams. This is a Venn diagram. And you see across here 4 of the most interesting, controversial novels probably in the last half century that are all there. And I've read all of them. But The Handmaid's Tale I haven't read, I got to tell you that, but I've seen it on Netflix.
Read it.
It's scary. But all of these intersect at one place. They all intersect at Project 2025. Now, if I were running Project 2025, I would have said, we're just trying to make our federal government more effective and efficient. That's what I would have said. And who doesn't, how many of you in here have ever had trouble with bureaucrats and red tape? Raise your hand. Yeah, of course, we all have. We all have. And those folks are trying to do their job, but sometimes they're strangled with red tape. But, you know, instead of that, this is what they're doing. This is what our friends, you know, at the Heritage Foundation who started this, and this is the president of the Heritage Foundation. And this is a statement he made 2 weeks ago on TV. Trump's Project 2025, and he said Trump's Project 2025, is in the process of we're in the process of starting a second American revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. I think that means the people in this room. I think that means you and me. He's placing the blame right now for anything that happens after the election in November on us. Okay? Just like they did for the Black Lives Matter people. Okay, so it's already starting, folks. It's already starting. And it gets even worse. It gets even worse because this guy, his name is Ivan Raiklin. He's Trump's self-declared Secretary of Retribution. How about a wonderful word? Revenge and retribution. I'm your revenge, I'm your retribution. He has 350 people, a list of 350 people. I think I'm on it. Maybe not. You know, but should be punished for treason if Trump is reelected. How many of you know Jamie Raskin? Right? One of the smartest people I've ever listened to. What a wonderful book. Have you read his book that really is talking about the death of his son? You know, that happened right just before January 6, 2021. But Jamie says a hit list that's a vigilante death warrant for hundreds of Americans. With the hateful, violent rhetoric that Trump spews at every one of his rallies. You know, you know, I've got a target on my back. My wife is scared to death. You know, and bottom line is I'm going to continue to tell people that this is wrong. Okay? But rather than me do that, how many are familiar with the Wall Street Journal? The Wall Street Journal, relatively conservative. Do you know who owns the Wall Street Journal? Rupert Murdoch, the same guy that owns Fox News. So you're going to hear now a video that was produced in the last week by the Wall Street Journal. So this is not some, you know, wild-haired radical, you know, telling you about Project 2025.
This 920-page document would usher in the most conservative executive branch in modern American history, if enacted. It's called Project 2025. Its pages offer new administrations a blueprint for executing a right-wing agenda, from purging the government of thousands of civil servants to dismantling the Department of Education.
We do have to initiate the largest mass deportation project in the history of this country.
Former President Donald Trump has distanced himself from Project 2025. But Democrats aren't buying it.
Project 2025 would roll back our fundamental freedoms, undermine our democracy, and gut checks and balances.
Here's a closer look at the four main pillars of this radical plan and how they could transform the American government as we know it.
One of the things that's interesting about Project 2025 is the tone. You hear the term woke mentioned dozens of times, radical mentioned dozens of times. It's remarkably driven by culture war politics.
Project 2025 is designed as a government in waiting if Trump or any conservative president returns to office. It's the brainchild of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank and lobbying group that has helped staff Republican administrations since the Reagan era.
We cover literally every public policy issue in Project 2025, from domestic policy to foreign policy.
Kevin Roberts is the president of the Heritage Foundation and one of the driving forces behind the project.
All Project 2025 is trying to do is to be a corrective to the liberal nonsense that has been so insidious inside the executive branch for the last half century.
The Heritage Foundation says Project 2025 is backed by more than 100 conservative organizations and a $22 million budget.
So I think the size, scale, and sophistication of Project 2025 is unprecedented.
The project has four main pillars: a policy plan, a personnel database, an online academy, and a playbook for the president's first 180 days in office.
We can be ready to hit the ground running on day one of the next administration.
The first pillar is a policy agenda that focuses on dismantling the so-called administrative state, or what some conservatives call the deep state.
Either the deep state destroys America, or we destroy the deep state.
For Project 2025, dismantling the administrative state means purging the civil workforce of tens of thousands of federal employees and replacing them with conservative, pre-vetted picks.
There is a concentration not just of power, but a concentration of radical leftist ideology in these employees. Hopefully, we will see over the next 10 to 20 years the elimination of entire cabinet departments.
The plan would dismantle the Department of Homeland Security, eliminate the Department of Education entirely, and transform the FBI into a political task force that is accountable to the president.
But the leadership of the FBI has been awful and rotten and not transparent for a long time. It is very important that Congress reestablish its purview over the FBI generally, its jurisdiction.
To give a sense of how radical this is, the FBI is an organization that has never been run by a Democrat. And so this is an organization that in its bones is a fairly conservative organization, and where now you have right-wing voices saying that it should be eliminated.
The playbook also outlines a plan to bring many federal agencies, like the Department of Justice, under more direct presidential control.
What Project 2025 articulates is the idea that the president should be the one directing the activities of the Department of Justice, even if that means that the president will not be investigated, or that the DOJ will be sent to attack the president's political enemies.
We will root out The communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
The Heritage Foundation says it wants to ensure that what remains of this whittled-down federal bureaucracy is conservative, not just for the next president, but for a long time to come. Pillar 2, Personnel Database. The Heritage Foundation has already contracted the technology company Oracle to build this database, kind of like a conservative networking platform.
We've recruited Americans all over the country, and so we've had well over 11,000 people who've applied to be considered by the next president and his administration.
Trump really emphasizes loyalty, and you see those practices now being adopted by Project 2025, where you fill out a form that essentially indicates if you are loyal to President Trump or not.
Once they're fully vetted, they can move on to Pillar 3, an online presidential administration academy that would train future bureaucrats in conservative values and governing.
So we want these people who are competent, who have great credentials, to be prepared for the specific job that they will have.
Project 2025 provides detailed policy plans for dozens of government agencies, outlining ways to create de facto abortion bans, slash federal investment in renewable energy, and roll back environmental regulations. Here, you can see several sections dedicated to consolidating U.S. immigration agencies and expanding their power.
Number one, we have to close the border. We do have to initiate the largest mass deportation project in the history of this country. The 12 million people who've come in as illegal aliens must be sent back to their native countries.
But how legally sound are these policy proposals, and what would they look like in practice? That's where Pillar 4 comes in, the playbook for the first 180 days of a conservative presidency. A big part of the plan is modeled off of a Trump-era policy called Schedule F.
Schedule F is originally an executive order that Trump signed that would allow him to turn thousands of career civil servants into political appointees that he could then fire if they displeased him in any way, and then have to be more responsive to a president who in the past has shown a willingness to fire people for disloyalty rather than for competence.
The Biden administration reversed this order in 2021, but Trump has vowed to bring it back if he is reelected.
First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively.
I think Schedule F is not just possible, but it's certainly an incredible priority of a second Trump administration. The problem with Schedule F is that there is no real limitation to the number of people who could be converted.
Underpinning many of Project 2025's policy proposals is a legal principle called the unitary executive theory. It is based on a clause in the Constitution that says the executive power is vested in the president.
Project 2025 assumption is that the president has something called unitary executive authority. This gives him enormous untested powers to essentially do whatever he wants and reduces the power of Congress to check those powers.
Conservative Supreme Court justices, like Justice Samuel Alito, have signaled support for the unitary executive theory and skepticism of federal agencies.
The current Supreme Court has shown itself to be very open to claims that the president has enormous executive authority and so should be able to hire and fire people at will.
In July, the Supreme Court granted presidents immunity for any official acts taken while in office. Legal experts say this decision could set the stage for expanding presidential power.
Trump would be looking at a Supreme Court that would be quite sympathetic to his claims that he has extraordinary executive powers, far more than previous presidents, and would allow him to do things that previous Supreme Courts would have checked with other presidents.
Other legal scholars say the unitary executive theory and some of Project 2025's more radical proposals simply aren't realistic.
It will inevitably draw dozens of lawsuits if all of its policies are implemented. So you cannot eliminate an agency without Congress agreeing to that. Congress has the power to create agencies and to eliminate agencies unless the Supreme Court suddenly grants new power to the president.
Project 2025 has garnered garnered increased attention on social media.
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
As Democrats shine a spotlight on its sweeping proposals.
Project 2025 will destroy America. Look it up.
This agenda is a fascist, authoritarian dictator's dream. And we know that that is exactly who Donald Trump wants to be.
Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman is part of the Stop Project 2025 task force.
So what we are trying to do is make sure that every American who is going to go to the ballot box on November 5th knows exactly what they will get if Donald Trump wins.
More recently, Trump made moves to distance himself from Project 2025. In a Truth Social post, he said he knew nothing about it, calling some of the proposals ridiculous and abysmal. Goldman says these statements are part of a larger political strategy.
So many of his former top officials are at the head of Project 2025. It is a political calculation that he's making because he recognizes that the American people do not support this extremist agenda.
President Trump is trying to win a presidential campaign, and we understand that he has to make political considerations. Given the millions of dollars that the left has spent attacking Project 2025 because they have nothing else to run on, I wasn't surprised to see President Trump's statement, nor are there any hard feelings.
Back in 2022, Trump spoke to the Heritage Foundation and was direct about its role in crafting future policy.
This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
Trump's own policy platform closely resembles many of Project 2025's proposals, too. From cracking down on immigration to blocking gender-affirming healthcare and stopping a woke and weaponized government.
Given the persuasiveness of these ideas, the overlap that exists between Trump's stated priorities and the priorities of the project, that will all sort itself out. It really is the conservative playbook, not just for the next year or two, but hopefully for the next generation.
What do you think, folks? That's the Wall Street Journal. That's not.
Is this available on YouTube?
Yes, it
still
is.
Presently?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you put in Wall Street Journal Project 2020.
Get out of here. I'm sorry. I've got to figure out how to do that. But bottom line is, yes, it's available. And distancing himself from it, he's, I know nothing. I know nothing about it. Amazing. Amazing. The man amazes me every day with his hubris and ability to lie so well and easily. There are some differences. What he got up on the screen here, and I apologize for the fact that it is a eye chart, but we've got up here for you if you'd want to pass these around for as far as they'll go. These are the similarities between Project 2025 and Agenda 47. And they're very similar to what the Republican National Committee, believe it or not, last week at the convention, they came up with a platform. In 2020, they did not have a platform. They just said whatever Donald wants to do. And so they've got a platform now, but it's pretty scary.
We're passing out is blurry, so
yeah.
At a distance, it does help.
Now, yes, ma'am, you got a question?
Wait, she needs a microphone.
Thank you. I don't know about, did you call it Program 47 or something? Project 47.
It's Agenda 47.
I don't know anything about that, but I am interested in saying a couple of things. I'm pretty old and I've seen a lot of this. I worked in the federal government in several agencies. When Reagan was elected, there was a committee that was created. There was a totally private committee for the Republican Party. And I was working in EPA. They came in and they were gonna just clean house. And that was just a little piece of probably what is now incorporated in this. And even before that, I think, you had I think the Birch Society, the John Birch Society, which really wanted to get rid of environmental regulations. This all sort of started in the 70s when we had our Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, and so on, and you know, environmental programs that businesses in this country felt threatened by. And I think this is a through line, a total through line of just taking over the federal government. And unfortunately, SCOTUS is part of the problem right now. And they've really done a job on that.
So if I could,
this has been going on for decades.
Right, it has. This is not something that started last year, you know, or 2 years ago. This has been going on for 50 years. You're absolutely right. I'd just like to make a couple of points using some slides, and if I could ask, we'll have time for discussion and things afterwards. A lot of things, hopefully, that you're thinking about right now, I'm going to cover in a little bit of depth and detail. So I want to talk here about our 3 branches of government, right? How many of us went to government class or had some kind of, So I learned when I was in government class that we've got a legislative branch, and their job is to, you know, write the laws, but they also have what's called the power of the purse. They allocate money, okay? And then we've got the judicial branch, which is the branch that is supposed to adjudicate the laws. You know, are the laws aligned with our Constitution? Are they fair? Are they right? Okay? In the middle, we've got the executive branch, and the executive branch is supposed to enforce the laws, okay? And here's part of the problem. The power of the purse says, I'm going to allocate money. For example, we're allocating $150 million to the state of Michigan to fix their roads and bridges. Donald Trump in the White House says, I don't like that woman from Michigan. I'm going to withhold that money. Okay? And when he did that, in his first impeachment, by the way, where he withheld the money that was allocated to Ukraine, okay, we passed a law in Washington called the withholding law that said you can't do that because it was flaky. Okay, so a law was passed. Trump has said from the podium, one of my first things I'm going to do the afternoon of January 20th, 2025, is I'm going to say that that law is unconstitutional. And I'm going to withhold money for people I don't like. And how much money have you seen from the Infrastructure Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act? Where has that money been spent? Has it been spent only in blue states? It's been spent in red states too, hasn't it? Yeah. Bottom line is, folks, this is what scares me. This guy's going to have all the power, and look at this picture. This is what scares me, because we're creating King Trump. Okay? With what happened on July 1st, and what's even more important, what happened on the Friday before that. The Supreme Court did away with the Chevron doctrine, which basically says the EPA can't tell us what to do. The Securities and Exchange Commission can't tell us what to do. The Federal Trade Commission can't tell us what to do. The only people that can tell us what to do are the people you elect to go to Washington, like Jack Bergman, who I know we all trust here, is looking out for our best interest, okay? Or the 9 people sitting in the Supreme Court. The experts, the scientists, the folks that have given their lives and their expertise, you know, to the EPA, to the Food and Drug Administration, okay? They're no longer able to do that because we got a king sitting in the White House. Now, a lot of organizations went in to make this whole thing, this 920-page document, that big, thick book. Well, the rats are leaving the sinking ship, folks. You guys know who the Mackinac Center is? Right-wing think tank here in the state of Michigan. They said, get our name off of there and get it off of there now. We don't want to be associated with this. Okay? So I think that tells a story, right? That tells a pretty blatant story. How's it going to affect us? This is one thing we have to think about as Democrats when we're talking to people. How does it affect you? How many in this room make more than $400,000 a year? Your wife? Okay. How many in this room make more than $50,000 a year? You know, or how many made more than $50,000 a year when you were working? I'm retired too. Okay? Your taxes are going to go up. Okay? And if you make, you know, 200,000 to 400,000 or more, you're going to pay less in taxes. Is that, honest to God, it's not fair. Because we end up with a budget deficit, we end up with a national debt, but I want to show you in the next few slides, they're going to balance the budget on our backs. They're going to balance the budget on the backs of the people who can afford it the least. How about Medicaid? Red here is bad. These are a high percentage of people that will lose their Medicaid coverage when Project 2025 comes into effect. Pardon me? Yeah. And so the dark red means you're really in trouble. You know, the bright pink, you know, you're going to lose some. But my goodness, folks, you know, this is scary. This is scary because we're taking it away from the people that need it the most. I have a personal touch here. I'm the proud father of a trans daughter. And they're going to take away all of the rights that the LGBTQ plus community has earned over the last 25 years. My cousin and his husband will no longer be legally married. Pete Buttigieg and Chasten, his husband, will no longer be legally married. Okay? This scares me to death, but the culture wars are there. This is the white Christian nationalism, cultural war stuff coming right through, very, very plain to me. How many of you, when you were working, were an hourly employee that could be eligible for overtime? Right? Project 2025 is going to really screw things up, okay? Today, if you work 40 hours, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I say, Jim, I need you to work Saturday, okay? And you probably say yes because you're making time and a half that Saturday for that 8 hours, okay? That's great. But under Project 2025, Jim's going to do that, and then I'm going to say, Jim, but next Friday, I don't need you. Don't come in to work. You're not paid for anything. They're going to a 160-hour work month. So if it all adds up to less than 160 hours, 160 hours or less for the month, no overtime. Of course, you know, and it's just crazy from the standpoint of, you know, the backs of the workers are going to pay for this. Okay, this one is amazing. This is right there on page 451. The only valid family is a working father married to a stay-at-home mother and their children. Now, you look at that and you go, so what? So what? That's a definition that can be used for a lot of things. I built my family through adoption, okay? Pete Buttigieg and Chasten built their family. They have two adopted. They won't be able to adopt. They won't be able to adopt. When I was building my family through adoption, we had meetings every week with the other families that were, and there was a single mom that also got a child from Korea at the same time. We kept in touch. That woman did an amazing job raising that young woman, and that young woman now is 35 years old. And, you know, but under this Project 2025, she wouldn't be able to adopt. Pardon me? I would hope not. I'd hope not. I hope there's, you know, that this is one thing that bothers me though, when you talk about this. I was asked today in a seminar in Manistee, is it retroactive? Because this was a person that's on, you know, VA disability. Are they going to take it away? God, I hope they don't. Because this gentleman, you know, fought in Vietnam, was exposed to Agent Orange, is struggling just to stay alive. Okay? But again, the adoptions will only be allowed to a family unit consisting of a married mother and a working father. My kids grew up watching Sesame Street. My grandson right now is watching Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Okay? Goodbye. You're on your own. You're on your own, public TV, public radio. You're on your own. Okay? I'm so proud of the state of Michigan. We got kids that are going to school here that don't go hungry. How many of you are educators? We're public educators. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your service. I'm a veteran. The most dangerous thing I did was drive on the Autobahn. We should say thank you to teachers for their service, okay? But how can you teach a child who's hungry, who's worried about what's going to happen at home tonight, okay? And then Head Start, oh my gosh, if we do away with Head Start for these kids that need that push, that start, what we're setting ourselves up to do is just to have a working slave labor class of people. Okay, that's where this goes. And as a veteran, they're going to balance the budget on my back too. They're going to do away with veteran benefits. So, for example, if you served 20 to 30 years in the U.S. Army or Navy or Marines or Air Force, you know, and you were disabled somehow, let's just say you lost your leg in Iraq. You can't get retirement pay and disability. Okay? Why not? If I gave my leg to this country, I should get the disability and I should be getting my, you know, my retirement that I earned. You know, and they've got the dollar signs right there by it, all of these, okay? So again, how long, I asked this, the very bottom one, put a 10-year limit on initial application for disability. How long did it take you, Vietnam veteran, to get your disability? 24 years. Okay? And yeah, okay, we talk about how can we make it more efficient and effective? Oh, you just put that limit on it. Oh my God. You public school teachers, you've gone through here in the state of Michigan charter schools, taking dollars away, you know, so we can have our little kids, you know, all gather around and, you know, have a wonderful time, you know, sitting in a circle and, you know, sucking that money away from those school districts that need it. Under the Project 2025, right in black and white, school vouchers will be the way of the future. Okay, we're taking from the have-nots and giving it to the haves. All right. Now, both of my kids they're both professional musicians. They studied at Interlochen. They didn't go to school there. They wanted to. I couldn't afford to send them there. Okay, but you know, vouchers. If the vouchers were there, I probably would have taken them. But now I look at it and I say, this is ridiculous. You know, we need to have a public school system in the United States. That's what's made America great. That's our way to break the chain of poverty. So eliminating public schools and going privatized, you know, Betsy DeVos wants to privatize everything. Okay? And that's no way to go. Kids with special needs. Kids with special needs, forget them, put them in an institution, forget about them. That's what's happening here. They're ending public education for students with disabilities. Okay? No more IEPs, individual education plans. Okay? Nothing crueler than that, in my opinion. My son-in-law is a tenured professor of law at the University of Nebraska. Very proud of that. Why do you think they want to get rid of tenure? Because they think that every college professor is a groomer, is teaching radical left nonsense, as you know, the president of the Heritage Foundation so crudely says. So no more tenure. How many of you got some money in the bank, in a savings account? I've got it there. I've got it in the bank, yeah. But it's safe. It's safe today. Project 2025 comes in doing away with the federal, FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Company, will be done away with. And we're going to let the banks, go out in the market. They're going to be able to go to the casino that's called the Securities and Exchange Commission or the New York Stock Exchange, or even worse, Bitcoin, okay, and make even more money, right? And of course, if they fail, they fail. No, because, they're going to be too big to fail because there's only a few big banks, okay? So your life savings may be at risk. Well, don't take it just from me. You can take it from this guy, okay? Look, this guy's, thank God, he's in prison right now, okay? But what he's doing in prison is he's raking the tennis courts, at a federal penitentiary, but on January 5th, 2021, he said, all hell will break loose tomorrow. Did it? What is he saying here? On January 20th, we're going to prosecute our political opponents. We're going to get rid of tons of personnel. Is there any reason that we should believe this guy? Okay. Yeah. So folks, this is for real. But here's the thing. Here's what they're really planning on. Here's what's really going. They're counting on us all just to be too tired, too stressed, too busy. We got other things to care about. They're going to forget about this. Okay? And that's what they're counting on. They're counting on you giving up and saying, it'll never happen here. As bad as I felt in November of 2016, after the election, I had one good thought in my mind. There will be adults in the room. If Donald Trump is elected, there will be no adults in the room. There will only be people that are doing this. Thank God he had people like General Milley, our Joint Chiefs of Staff, saying, you can't do that. You can't shoot people in the legs. Thank God he had people like, his own Chief of Staff, General Kelly, retired General Kelly, said, sir, you can't do that. Okay? And of course, he was fired. Fired on Twitter. What a courageous man that Donald Trump is. So don't stop, no matter how long it takes. Can I just ask you one thing, and then we're going to open this up. Listen, 40% of the people out there that you're going to run into are going to vote for the person with an R by their name no matter what you say. Right? 40% of the people out there, God, I hope, are going to vote for the guy with a D by his name. Her name. Oh, God, yes. The person with a D by her name. Thank you. The 20% in the middle, that's who we need to talk to. If everybody in this room talks to two people about Project 2025 in the next week, just has a conversation, just say, have you heard about Project 2025? And what concerns me, I'm very concerned about it. You should be concerned about this. You should be concerned about it. Just pick one thing. And by the way, here's a one-pager, talking points of some of the issues that might occur. Now, I would tell you, these are all not vetted necessarily and aren't specifically called out in Project 2025. What Project 2025 does is opens Pandora's box, okay? It makes it possible that this could happen, okay? Right now, it's not possible for these kind of things to happen. But let's face it, our health care is, the Affordable Care Act is gone. Medicare is going to be privatized, even more than it already is. How many of you have a Medicare Advantage plan? Are you happy with it? The only reason I'm happy, I have one, because I'm healthy. Okay? And if I were sick, I've been reading the fine print. And holy cow, I mean, as long as my wife and I are healthy, we're fine, but it's scary. So bottom line is, just have that conversation. Don't preach. Don't preach. Ask questions. Have a curious conversation. Okay? You know, ask them why that's important to them. Okay? And what you're going to get the borders open, the illegals are pouring across. By the way, the 12 million, whatever number was there, let's say 12 million, 12 million people that came in the United States. Most of them, 90% of them, are in this United States as asylum seekers. It is federal law that once they're on, American soil, they can ask for asylum. These folks are not illegals. They're documented. Okay? And they're not given cards to vote. I had a conversation today with somebody who says they're given special cards so they can vote. No, they're not. You can't vote in a federal election unless you're a U.S. citizen. Okay? So there's all kinds of things you're going to have to overcome because they're going to come at you about gas prices. I don't know why gas is $4 a gallon today. It was $3.28 last week in Manistee. And it's $4 today. The only thing that I can, Joe Biden's having a bad day and he says, I'll kick the gas price up. No. No. Wesco and Blarney Castle, it's coming to the end of the month, folks. They need to kick it up. They're, have their books look really good. I'm sorry, this is the free market. This is capitalism. You're seeing it right in front of you. So, yeah. So bottom line is, have a conversation, but don't preach. Ask questions. Don't, and if somebody just keeps coming at you with that, say, thank you. Well, bless your heart. I lived in Louisiana for 5 of the longest years of my life. And, I was told, bless your heart, so many times. And I thought aren't they being nice? And I said, oh no. I found out later. But again, don't spend time. Don't get stressed out by these folks that are never going to vote for anybody with a D by their name. Let's find that 20% in the middle. Let's talk to them. Let's get them to the polls. Okay? That's the end of my talk, folks. I'm here to answer questions.
We need the microphone. So please raise your hand and tell.
Does that sheet showing the brief synopsis of 2025 have the actual page number that shows where in Project 25?
No, it does not.
Okay, I have seen a page or something similar to that has a specific page, like they're going to cut Medicare, page 375 or where. I'll see if I can find that again and get it to somebody, and because that helps as to,
right,
part of. You email it to Benzie Democrats, BenzieDemocrats@gmail.com.
Karen's had her hand up for a long time too.
Yeah, hand it back over there. While Karen, just a second, I want to just respond to that. One of the problems that's going on right now with these page numbers is the Heritage Foundation has found that out, and they're changing their page numbers. I'm sorry. That's part of the, the stuff that goes on. So please don't rely on that. Okay. We'll get to you. Karen, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. First of all, totally support the Socratic method of asking questions to get information or to get people thinking. The second thing, you didn't mention the military at all.
Okay.
Is that covered in 2025 somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Several places. First of all, it's prohibiting any trans individuals from enlisting in our military or serving in our military.
Okay.
It's also saying that the president has the right to fire the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at any time. Okay. The other part about the military that kind of bothers me is they say that if you're going to a public school, a child in a public school, all of them have to take the military aptitude test as seniors. And if you're going to a private school, you do not need to take that test. We need a warrior class.
All right, the woman in the green was next, and then I think the woman
Yeah,
back there.
thank you.
So I also found, and I have it saved on my phone and I can email it, but there is a QR code that you can scan and it takes you to a website that is the organization, I don't remember the name of the organization, that leads you to an organization that is an Project 2025 website that explains and has a lot of really, really good information, but it's something that could be put easily on a flyer or a postcard and people can scan it. And, you know, especially younger people, like that's how they find out everything, right, with a QR code. So you can order your beer and find out about Project 2025 with a QR code. So I'll make sure that that gets emailed in too, because I think that's a good resource.
Thank you. By the way, that organization is called stopproject2025.org. Stopproject2025.org. In the video, Representative Goldman was talking. He's part of that organization. Yes, ma'am.
I've been looking at 2025, and I find that if I look at it in the PDF form, I can do a search for the keywords. Now, some of them are going to come up 375 times, but that'll help you with that page thing. Also, because the first couple pages, like the first 14 pages, are under Roman numerals. So their page 451 isn't going to be your page 451. You have to add those extra table of contents and stuff to that.
Yep, absolutely.
There's no questions in the chat, so
If anybody,
we got
if-
two more out
yeah, we're not ending yet, but I just want to make the people on Zoom aware that please put any questions you have in the chat, and we have a couple more questions here in the audience. Thank you.
Yes.
If you look up on Wikipedia, Project 2025, there is a 67-page summary of it. 20-some pages of that are citations, so it creates validity for the content and the rest. And it's very explicit in terms of specific areas, education, military, social security. It's a very good document.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. One thing I would ask, though, I would just warn you all, there's a lot of stuff on the internet. And there's a lot of stuff that is not accurate, is not something. You need to vet your information. Please. We will be challenged on this. You will be challenged. It doesn't say that. Will be the main challenge. You're giving me your Chicken Little, the sky is falling. It's not going to happen. Donald Trump won't do that. You know, he knows he's not going to do that. You know, he's not going to do that maybe immediately, but over time, if he's in the White House and he's got nothing better to do, you know, if it's raining out and he can't go play golf, he's going to be thinking of these things to do. So let's face it.
Okay,
yes.
My question is, I brought it up at the last meeting. I didn't get very much response, but maybe from you I'll get something different. Our wonderful Supreme Court gave immunity to the executive branch. Is that not correct? And that's what we're talking about, having this ability to do this. The executive branch is now Democratic, Biden, till January 20th. Why? There's an official act that's an issue or a personal act. Official acts can be construed based upon opinion, I guess. Why doesn't Biden now? This whole thing is anti-democracy. This whole Project 25 and all the people supporting it. Why doesn't he start now and use that executive authority the Supreme Court is given?
Good question.
My response to that, and I might, and again, it's open for, this is my personal feeling. Joe Biden is a man of high moral character, and he understands he wields a lot of power. And in fact, he's the most powerful man in the world because he has the nuclear codes. Okay?
Democracy is in question. What other official act could there be?
Well, again, it would have to, anything that was acted upon, it just would have to go to the Supreme Court eventually. And again, with the 6-3 majority that's there right now, I doubt that anything Joe Biden did,
That's right.
even if it was a wonderful thing.
No,
Yes.
they were vague enough that any act could go before the Supreme Court, and they will not be in favor of Joe Biden.
Yeah. Yes, here, right here.
Well, we also have a question from the chat.
Okay.
Okay, so let me take that. So the question from the chat is, somebody asked, will they set up social scores for people, like in China?
I'm not sure about social scores, but there is talk, some very loose in there that basically we're going to start tracking women's menstrual cycles.
Oh, jeez.
Okay? So that's problematic to me, certainly.
This isn't a question. Joy Reid on MSNBC for the next...
Quiet, please. You're good. You're good.
That's okay.
All right. Joy Reid on MSNBC all week long is going to be discussing on her show and having guests on to explain Project 25. So if you're interested in more information, rather than going online, if you watch MSNBC at all, watch the Joy Reid show, and they're going to be talking all week about Project 25.
Yeah, starting Monday at 7. Monday at 7.
Next one.
Anything else? Yes.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
Wait a minute. No one can hear you on Zoom unless you use
Zoom. Yes. All right. I am not.
Right, just talk.
I am not a Benzie Dem. I'm from Grand Traverse County. I brought 3 friends with me. I'm going to say that our county is not as active as yours. I'm going to go out on a limb. Is some of this, I know, and it's pathetic, but is the information that you're sharing going to be on your website, or will it be available to people like me?
Yes, this is being recorded, and I'm sure the Benzie Democratic Party will do something with it. But if you go also to the Manistee County Democratic Party, ManisteeDems.org, we already have on our website, we have a page specifically dedicated to Project 2025, and we've recorded some of my presentations. Okay? Anybody else? Well, what a wonderful time. It's time for you all to go home and watch Joe Biden. Thank you.
Please take a cookie with you.
Or a pretzel? You want chairs?
Yes, please. Yes, please.